in conversation with Kris Gopalakrishnan, the co-founder of Infosys, serial investor in many startups, and so much more. He's also closely involved with the government on many policy issues. Thank you very much for joining us on ET Now. Where do you see India as we are today? Can we really claim the 21st century as ours, like America claimed the 20th century as theirs, and the amazing growth that we saw from China in the last few decades? Where do you really see?
So if you step back and look at how much we have progressed in the last 25 years, it gives you an optimism. In the last 25 years, we have gone from $600 per capita to $2,000 per capita, almost threefold increase. And I strongly believe that in spite of what we are going through right now, India should continue to grow over the next several years. Now it's a question of whether we will double this or we will reach the 5 trillion mark in the next, let's say, 5 years or next 10 years, but we are going in the right direction. Now, how can we accelerate this? I think we can accelerate this by looking at sectors of the economy that have high growth potential and sectors that are dragging the economy down. Where can we make some changes? Now, the sectors that are doing very well, I believe, the whole technology space, IT services, the startup space, the pharma industry, biotech industry, and before the COVID struck, even automotive industry, all of these were actually doing fairly well, the two-wheeler fairly well. And I strongly believe that these will come back as soon as things improve. Some of them, like IT, etc., actually not slowed down that much, may slow down because of the global slowdown, but they will continue to grow. Now, one sector which I am very optimistic that if we can make some right changes, will actually pull the entire economy up is the agriculture. There's one more intervention that is required. If you look at China, they have invested significantly into R&D, into research, into innovation. They've actually protected their companies from external, let's say, competition. So some of these things we need to do, but definitely we need to invest in research and development. I have no doubt about the capability of our scientists. We need to increase the investment from right now it's around 0.7, 0.8% of GDP to 3% of GDP. Private sector investment in research has to increase from 0.1% to 1.5%. That means 15 times what is being invested now must be invested by private sector. And we need to be ambitious in our goals. When we decided that we want to land in moon, we were able to do that, right? So let's have moonshot projects in research. And I'm confident that our scientists will be able to achieve those results. And this, in turn, will create a new generation of startups that are based on Indian IP, that's based on knowledge that's created here, ideas that come from the labs in our research facilities.
Right. Sir, the IT industry played a significant role in boosting India's economy in the last decade. And then you had sunrise sectors such as telecom. Now pharma has really been doing well. What do you think the next sunrise sector is? Is it going to be the startups, the unicorns? We have over 30 unicorns now. Can those really move the needle? What in your mind is going to be the next big sunrise sector for India as we approach the next decade?
So clearly, pharma, biotech is one. I'm not touching technology and IT, but I'm looking at outside IT. Pharma and biotech clearly are ready for a significant boost, significant scale up. During COVID times, we see the strength of our pharma and biotech sectors and industry. 70% of the vaccine for the world is being manufactured here in India, right? So clearly, we have certain strengths. In the area of generics, we have certain strengths. I don't see any reason why we can't develop our own molecules, our own drugs and things like that. We need to invest in trials in India. Right now, the trials are actually getting done outside the country. I don't see any reason why these trials cannot be done in India. So that's one sector where I'm very optimistic about. Second is the whole area of healthcare. So we are completely underinvested in healthcare. That is again, that weakness is again visible during COVID times. We don't have enough number of hospitals, enough number of hospital beds, enough number of doctors, enough number of nurses and technicians. Our ability to provide quality healthcare in tier 2, tier 3 cities are very poor. So we need to boost our investment in healthcare, and that again will be a boost to the economy. That investment will be a boost to our economy. Third, the whole area of e-commerce. I think we need to look at how we can leverage this better. Again, during COVID times, the entire number of Kirana stores who got activated through WhatsApp and things like that. I think we need to organize them a little better and help them with technology. If you're able to do that, the productivity will go up significantly, and that will again boost the entire retail on offline and online retail. So there are many such opportunities, and many of this will be driven by startups.
One thing, so that I've observed is, though our startups have attracted a lot of foreign funding, be it from China or Japan or US or Europe, the domestic component is still pretty low. There are family offices that are opening up. Founders such as you've kind of redeployed capital into startups. We have some other entrepreneurs who are also giving back and redeploying wealth in India's startups. But we are not really Atmanirbhar or self-reliant when it comes to domestic capital. What do you think we can do to change that? Because our avenues are also getting narrower. There are conditions now attached to capital from China. And I mean, Geo has demonstrated that it's been able to raise capital completely from non-Chinese investors. But how are we really going to get domestic investments going for startups?
So this is clearly a mindset issue. I keep telling my colleagues in the industry that they need to think about it strategically. They need to think about investing in startups as a way to buy innovation into their own businesses, buy into the opportunity that India provides for growth, for wealth creation. So I have nothing against foreign capital coming in, and we need foreign capital to help India in its journey. But what happens is that when these companies become successful, let's say they do an exit, they do an IPO, the wealth gets distributed outside the country. The wealth does not get distributed in India. So we will be the loser. See, it is estimated that India's wealth is about $3 trillion in private hands, right? Only 1% or less is being invested in the startup sector, in startups in India. That's awfully low. From a family office perspective, from a personal point of view, I invest about 10 to 15% of my wealth into startups, right? And yes, the risk is more, but the reward once a while can be actually significantly higher than what you would make in other categories of investment. And that's the reason why I believe that you must invest in startups.
So the other part that I also wanted to touch upon was the future of workplace as you see it. The IT companies at least were synonymous with these huge campuses that also showcased the scale of their ambition. I remember many foreign dignitaries used to actually come and visit these campuses to, change their perception about India. And now with everything going remote, how do you believe the future of workplace is going to evolve? do you think this will be the permanent mode where we will have 20-30% of the workforce working from home? And how will companies really utilize these campuses? How is that going to change?
So there will be some change. What will that be is not very clear. Some companies are saying 30%. Some other companies are saying maybe 50 to 70%. I personally believe that somewhere around a third, 30%, is what will probably happen in steady state. And the reason for that is they've all realized that in their business continuity plans, they are not factored in work from home, right? And the transition to work from home, though they did fantastically well, to transition approximately 4 million employees to work remotely overnight, almost in a week's time, 10 days time, was a phenomenal task, and my hats off to the industry. But it was a Herculean task, and because of that, I think all of them will now factor in work from home. A part of the workforce will continuously work, continuously in the sense that they will probably rotate them. It will not be the same set of people, but a certain percentage will work from home. What about these large campuses? Yes, they will repurpose, and then they are still growing. It is not that they are not growing. So temporarily there will be some excess capacity in these campuses, but over time I think it will get normalized. I also find that companies who are much smaller, companies with maybe 20, 30, 40 employees, their attitude towards permanent office is changing. So that's where I see the maximum impact actually.
Right. You're also involved, sir, in the National Telemedicine Alliance, WASP. How can this potentially be a game changer, in your opinion, over the next few months or year?
So this is an initiative which is clearly public-private partnership. The government is also through the National Healthcare Mission, digital mission, planning to come out with a significant transformation of the healthcare sector in the country. And SWAST is an alliance of 100 plus healthcare service providers in the country, or hospitals like Apollo or Manipal or Columbia Asia, then pharmacies like 1mg, Practo, CureFit, so many players are involved, including smaller clinics, etc. And they have come together in the short term to provide solutions for COVID-19, all the way from teleconsulting to home quarantine, lab support, oxygen care, and things like that. And in the medium to long term, partner with the government to in their drive to transform healthcare. We will see transformation, and just like in the fintech space, we saw that India leapfrog because the quality of
from cards, from cash to UPI. Yeah.
Exactly, right? And just by knowing somebody's telephone number, we can now transfer cash to that person instantaneously with almost zero cost. So similar transformation, similar disruption is expected to happen in the healthcare space. And I'm glad to be part of this whole initiative, and it's very exciting to see such changes coming. And these are the things that will completely transform and change the perception about India. See, this is why I feel that there's an opportunity for India to make this century as our century, because the 20th century models have not really worked. It has increased disparity. It has, not been inclusive. Access is not there. Poverty still persists. And so we need to look at, how we look at development itself. The development must be inclusive. It must look at providing access to everybody. We need to do it at lower cost. So these are the things that India can, and do it sustainably, such that we don't pollute ourselves to death and things like that. So this is the opportunity for India to come up with a new model for development.
Right. Finally, sir, you also headed the committee on how non-personal data should be treated. It's already seen some pushback because in the last week there have been reports that American internet companies are not too happy with the proposal, and there are going to be proposals coming in from the US IBC and the US Commerce Lobby. They feel that it goes against the spirit of market competition and the market model. What is your response, sir? How do you see this panning out?
First of all, we welcome all inputs right now. Till September 13, the report is available for public consultation, and we are inviting inputs, and we will welcome inputs from USIBC, etc. During our consultation, we did talk to authorities in US, UK, EU, Australia, etc. We looked at best practices elsewhere. Clearly, there needs to be a change how data is being treated. World over, there is a clear shift towards more regulation rather than less regulation. This is not to say that we want to reduce competition or we are against competition. No, this is to actually increase competition. This is to create a level playing field. This is to ensure that some data is available for new companies, to entrepreneurs, to startups to innovate, because by sharing, we believe that the innovation actually will increase because people will look at new ways of using this data. And that's what we want to encourage. Where there are concerns about competition, etc., we hope to address, but any change will affect some people probably negatively. We want to reduce that, and that's the goal of the committee. That's how we've been thinking about these things. We want to be careful in how we address these issues, but definitely make sure that the data about India, the data from our citizens, is used for economic well-being of our country and of our citizens. The wealth should actually come to India.
Right. Yes. So if you look at the way internet is structured, you have the American model, the European model, the Chinese model. Is this how the Indian model is going to play out? That you have foreign investors coming in, they are able to run their businesses under their brand names, but you will also protect personal and non-personal, and enable shareability of non-personal data. Is it going to be a hybrid model of sorts?
So our model is probably closer to the European model, and we do allow competition, but we also want to ensure that there is sharing, there is data available, there is protection of privacy, there is a lot more empowerment of the individual on how their own data is used or misused, right? So today, for example, all of us, when we are given an option on the browser, do you accept cookies? We just don't look at it. We just say we accept cookies. And in the background, our data is probably going all over the world and not for the purpose that we intended it, right? So there has to be a lot more accountability and transparency of how our data is being used. And that's the direction the entire world is moving. And India is trying to take a lead in this. We hope to create a better ecosystem for use of data in the country. Data itself can create $500 billion of economic activity in India. This is what a NASCOM McKinsey report recently said, actually. There was a report that came out. So we need to make sure that we enable that. That's the enabling function. And we also want to make sure that there is some enforcement of privacy rules, of data sharing rules and things like that.
Right. Finally, before I end, sir, take us through how your own habits have changed during the lockdown. Has your screen time gone up, come down? Have you taken up any new hobbies or courses? Tell us how life has changed for you.
Of course, our lives have changed significantly. Personal interactions have come down. Almost all interactions are now digital, just like we're doing this interview. Normally, I would have come to a studio, you would have come home or something like that, or to the office and done this interview, right? So, it has changed. Definitely, it has changed. And I hope that we get back to our old ways sooner than later, because this is actually becoming boring, or some people are having mental issues with this and things like that. I keep myself busy reading, learning, writing, of course, talking more now rather than less, and when we don't have to spend time traveling, commuting, suddenly you have more time in your hands, which is interesting
Right.
actually. So it's a different period, but I think, like many of my friends, I think we want to now travel, we want to eat out, we want to meet friends. I think that's the normal thing now I hear from people.
Right. Hopefully, I will meet you next time at the lovely Axilor office in Koramangala. But thank you in JP Nagar. But thank you very much, sir, for talking to us on ET Now. Stay safe and take care, and look forward to more conversations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chandra, for having me. Enjoy it. Thank you.